for a payment considerably less than what they're paying. How did you get it?
Well, you know, in my experience, I've been an attorney since, you know, the whole recession hit. So in my entire career, I have not once seen a principal reduction. I have never seen a loan modification ever truly work out for any of our clients. You know, we'll see clients come in, we'll give them their advice, and you know, I say you don't need a bankruptcy at this time. You know, try the loan modification. And those clients that I initially met with 2 or 3 years ago trying the loan modifications are in a far worse position now because, you know, the bank calls them and says we don't want to do this anymore, and then they're in more debt. You know, they're in threat of being sued and garnished, so the situation gets worse and worse and worse, which is why, again, I have to advocate that you just have to be proactive in this, and you have to go seek out, you know, advice that's solid from people that you actually know and trust. And you know, as I can attest for Marge and her team, I speak in front of realtors almost daily, and some of these realtors, their clients come to me and said, well, my realtor told me to do this and said I could stay in my house and do this, and I'm just sitting there shaking my head, you know. And for as many lawyer jokes as there are now, I'm coming up with a lot more realtor jokes because, I mean, it's just some of the information is absolutely false, and you know, having a good team that can advise you properly is absolutely imperative in today's day and age. Again, the longer you wait, these, you know, they just don't work, in my opinion. I could be biased, but in my experience, they don't work. And the short sale, in my experience, is the best option.
Hold on to the microphone for a second. I have more than one of these, so I'm going to try to combine these questions. People have heard, people have a neighbor or a friend, or people are thinking about trying to purchase another home before they get out or short sale or foreclose on their existing home. Can that happen? And is it legal?
Yeah, well, I'm not a mortgage guy, so I don't know if you can qualify for that loan. It's absolutely not your best interest. You know, to get yourself in a greater debt situation is, I don't see, again, it may be some advice your realtor gave you.
I can answer that. As far as buying a different home, it can be done. Typically, you have to qualify for both payments. You could, in some cases, rent the house out and qualify for the new home. So it happens all the time. They're a little stricter on it than they used to be. They call it buy and bail if you're actually going to not make payments on the other one, and it will damage your credit if that happens. So you have to be very careful and talk to us about your situation first before you plan the buy and bail.
Can you explain, anybody feel free again, what is a non-recourse state? I've heard that Arizona is a non-recourse state. What does that mean to me as a homeowner?
Recourse versus non-recourse loan, what that means is Arizona has what's called the anti-deficiency statute, meaning if you foreclose on your home or even short sale, now that there's case law out there that proves that the anti-deficiency statute protects short sales, they cannot come after you for any deficiency on a non-recourse loan. So if it's a purchase money mortgage, you never refinanced, cashed out basically on that property, they can't come after you, therefore it's a non-recourse loan. If you do a refi, a HELOC, take out money and don't put 100% of that money back into the property, it's then distinguished as a recourse loan, meaning if you foreclose on it, they will absolutely come and sue you for however much money you took out of the property. So that's the basics. I could bore you for hours.
How do you find out whether you have a recourse loan or not? I mean, as far as like, say, a lot or a home, how do you know whether it's...
The question is, how do you know if you have a recourse loan?
A land is exempt. It has to be a residential property, so land. Part of it is when we do short sales. This week I had a gentleman who had a home equity line of credit. That is a recourse loan. I love when I sit next to my attorneys and I say to them, I had a property this week, Kale, $180,000 home equity line of credit, second position. That's what he owed on the second. We offered them $15,000 from the homeowner's parents to pay it off because he has no job, he has no money, he has no bank statements, he hasn't filed his taxes in 5 years. I can tell the story very sad, it's all true. And we offered them $15,000. They came back, no recourse. We want a full release. I said, I pray for all my homeowners because I know everybody's depressed. And if you really go back in history, people killed themselves when they got depressed in the Great Depression. That's my job to tell the lenders that. Because sometimes they come back and say, we won't take 15, but we'll take $28,000 and give you a full release of it. And the homeowner said, yee-haw, because he knew whether the house foreclosed or anything else. That second, he had total liability for, and he doesn't qualify for bankruptcy. So you can lose your house and still have this liability, or if you attempt a short sale, you have to have somebody. I'm a little different than most people. We really put our teeth into these things. It was personal. I called up and I said, I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is they wouldn't take $15,000. The good news is they'll take $28,000 and give you a full release. And we're doing that with the title company right now before the short sale is even complete. If his first was a lower balance, he could stay in the property because we just got rid of it.
There's people out there who have gone through some of these modification programs and have had their loans modified. If I've gone through a loan modification, will it hurt my chances of a short sale down the road? Is there a time frame or something I should be concerned about?
Keeping in mind when you do a loan modification, they can spring a foreclosure date on you real quick. All of us that watched Melissa Blasius on Channel 12, there was we won't mention the bank of wherever it was. A woman had done a loan modification on her second payment. She called up and said, I'm going to be 2 days late. Do I need to do this by wire transfer on the phone or whatever? They said, no, you're fine. She was 4 days late. They foreclosed the property. Read your documents. You may not have that grace period and all the foreclosure process because a loan modification, they've modified your original documents. They have modified your original documents, and you don't have those foreclosure grace periods. Is that correct, Mark?
That's correct, yes.
That's ugly.
I had a question in regards to that. What if the bank sold your mortgage to another bank? After you did a loan modification, they lowered my interest rate is all they did for 5 years, and then it goes up to 1%.
Okay, what if they sold it to another lender? That's still going on. And the servicer.
I know, but now, if I were late, I have never been late. If I were late, would they be able to foreclose?
Oh, sure.
Because they sold it to another bank?
And that's what's really sad. I mean, people are saying they get like a 2 weeks notice that they're going to get a foreclosure. I really don't like the pressure when we get phone calls saying, Marge, can you come and help me? And I look at the tax records and I see a foreclosure date in like 15 minutes, which the fastest one we did, we went on a Wednesday night. We had to do a conference call with the lender because of the authorization on Thursday, and we stopped the trustee sale from Friday. And that means my entire team comes to a screaming halt because we're all picking up bits of this to make it happen. And we've got some investors in standby that will write a cash offer because they won't stop it unless you have an offer. Even if it's a low offer, we can make things come to a halt half the time. But that kind of pressure is real risky, so you don't want to wait that long, okay?
Oh, go ahead.
Just one point, again, in my experience, keep in mind that internally in the banks, the loss mitigation department's not talking to the foreclosure department, not talking to the bankruptcy department. So you could be in a full-fledged loan modification, and all of a sudden the foreclosure department of the bank calls and says, hey, we set your house for foreclosure, sorry, well, I've been making $1,000 payments for the past 8 months. Well, essentially it's a breach of contract. Loan modifications are legally a breach of contract. It's a modification of your original contract. Therefore, they can, and they have the right, they won't tell you that, but they have the right to say, we're done with this, you're in breach, you better get caught up with whatever arrearages there are. And they, the horror stories are they want $28,000 by tomorrow to get caught up, or they're, I'm going to be foreclosed on. And, you know, then we're forced into bankruptcy. And these are people, again, being proactive, you know, came and saw me early, they're doing the loan modification. It just did not work, and they were misled by the bank, and so be it. You know, legally they have the right.
Another question, I got a couple different people, because for people that are upside down by $500,000, I think they kind of get where the world's going, right? There's some people that are on the edge, and they're close. And the question came up a couple, is the market going to turn back around? If I'm teetering on the edge right now, do I have a chance to get back positive here in the next year, 2 years, 3 years? Does the panel and do the experts think that Maricopa County or Arizona is going to turn around to the point where your house isn't going to be worth less tomorrow than it is today, which is the current situation for, I think, almost all of us?
Let's just do, that's an opinion, let's do an opinion right
Yeah.
down the road.
Okay, well, the first thing is if you're teetering, there is still a making home affordable refinance, and you can refinance your house up to 125% if you're teetering, if you're that close. Okay, what do I think about the market? Well, I've sat with March, so I have to tell you that, you know, I've also listened to Mark speak last week, and they had a little bit of a differing opinion, but I can tell you from reading appraisals every day that most of the time they're not coming in at the value that we're needing them to come in at most of the time right now. So I don't think you're going to see any major changes, not anytime this year. I don't know if anybody else thinks there's going to be major changes this year, but there's also a good amount of, maybe Mark can address this, inventory that still has to be released as well from banks that, you know, properties that have already been foreclosed. So that will affect what the values of the properties will be.
An enormous amount of shadow inventory we're not hearing about. I've made Bruce promise me, as his new angel mom, that regardless of my husband, he will take you out and show you a house when the time is right.
Yes, I'm not allowed to buy again.
No, you're not allowed to buy until I call and tell you we have officially hit the bottom. I talked with a gentleman from the Arizona Republic. He was in my class last week, and he said that he has seen statistics that this year we could drop out of 15 to 20%. And if you look at everybody in this room, their map of their home, I don't think there's enough Canadians to come down and bail us out yet. I mean, I just don't think that's going to happen.
Chinese.
Maybe some Chinese will come in. I mean, I just think that it's supply and demand, it's inventory. And we've got a ton load of inventory. When my kids were little, remember when I'd say, go take a time out?
No.
Okay, well, it's okay, you probably didn't listen. I'm hoping tonight everybody listens. It's okay to take a time out. Right now, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a real estate agent. I make commission when you buy a house. Bruce, you are not allowed to buy a house, at least, in my opinion, for the next 2-3 years. Well, here's what I told my class last week. I'll tell you what I told my class. I hope I live to see the day when we have appreciation here in Phoenix again. I really think that Mark doesn't agree with me. He's going to get all upset. And I am the eternal optimist. You have to be when your father was in the casket business. But at the same point, I think it's okay for somebody to be truthful. When you look at that gavel, and everybody saw what that was, those are your neighbors' homes that are all in foreclosure, and nobody knows what to do about this. I think we all need to be able to say a little bit of truthfulness. So, now Mark, what do you think?
I was going to grab the mic away from Marge here for a minute because she was in a class yesterday. She teaches a class called CSSPE, which helps realtors do short sales the right way, gives a lot of education on different ways to do things. It's a 9-hour class. It's grueling for those of us that sit in it. I don't know how she teaches it for 9 hours, but she made the comment in there that we will not see appreciation in her lifetime, and I clutched my heart. I believe that we will see things start to turn back around. It's not going to be quick. It's probably 3 to 5 years. There is shadow inventory out there. The inventory that's listed is coming down very drastically. I mean, we've seen a sharp decline in the amount of listed homes that are out there. Normal laws of supply and demand would indicate that that's a good sign that prices would stabilize, would start to go back up when there's less inventory out there on the supply side. The thing that we're lacking is the demand. Consumer confidence is weighing heavily into this, and you probably heard the statistics the other day. Consumer confidence is down again. There's a graph that I look at often. It's put together tracking consumer confidence. It's very standard in about 10-year bands of when things really go down. So it indicates that we've probably got a couple years to get through this, to get some consumer confidence back up, to where people start buying and the demand starts coming back. The good news is the inflow of new product has stemmed drastically. You know, if you look at the number of building permits coming on board in Maricopa and Pinal County in 2004 and 5, we were on track and actually exceeded 60, 70,000 new home building permits per year. We're about a tenth of that right now. I think through June we were maybe 3,500 building permits, so it would indicate maybe 6,000, 7,000 new building permits, new homes that would be coming into the market. So again, helps with the supply side of this. We just got to get the demand back up. We've got great weather here. I mean, even though it's still as hot as all get out there right now, people still love our weather. We've got a good service economy. We've got rates that are staying relatively low. I'm optimistic that this will turn around, but it's not going to happen just overnight or even in the next couple of years.
You want more opinions?
Please.
I'm going to split the difference here. I'm going to say 5 to 10 years before it comes back. I do believe it will come back, but at least 5 to 10. The thing the really factor that we don't know is unemployment, and like Mark mentioned, it's the demand factor, and people are out of jobs. They don't want to buy a house, so that's the big unknown. And the election's coming up. There could be some euphoria, or there could be some more people crying. So we'll see what happens with the elections. We'll see what happens with the economy turnaround. And honestly, if anybody tells you they know exactly what's going to happen, don't believe them, because it's all an educated guess. But I don't believe we hit bottom either. So I'm in Marge's camp there. Anyway, Chris?
I thought we hit bottom last year. So I have no idea where we're headed. I don't. But my youngest son just got a job with Bank of America as a modification underwriter. So I will bring in, I will have some insight on how that works shortly.
I got a bunch of different questions, all that involve rental properties. A lot of people have a second home or a rental property that either is negative cash flow or they just don't know exactly what they should do with it. If they're thinking about a short sale or their options with a rental property or a second home, how does that change?
Purchase money is purchase money. Now I'm going to get real, can I get real personal with everybody now? You've been in the room for an hour. My husband and I were married 13 years ago. When I married him, he had absolutely pristine, perfect credit his entire life. We had 6 rental properties. We were so upside down. Oh my God. And then they had these negative cash flows, which we really wanted them for tax purposes. Well, then that didn't work out so well as the economy changed. So in 1 year, we bled $250,000 out of our retirement account. We've changed our minds now. We don't want to retire anymore. That was part of the game plan. And I said to him one day, when he was thinking the economy was going to come back and get better, I said, honey, how much longer, how many more years can we lead like this and ever retire without having to have our children support us? And that's a scary thought. And he said, May 1st, I'm going to stop making payments on all 6 rental properties. Purchase money, short sales. Banks would not work with us. We tried for a year to work with the lenders, current on every one of them. They wouldn't modify the loans, they wouldn't modify the interest rates, they wouldn't do anything. And I think I'm pretty good at modifying and talking with lenders. We were investors. They said, we're not going to help you make any money. I said, you're not going to help us make money. We just want to break even, and we're still going to have this ugly principal balance. They wouldn't help us. They wouldn't help us. My husband said, Marge, we're done. We're going to stop making payments May 1st. That was my birthday. That's why I remember he was gonna stop payments. It's common that day, instead of saying happy birthday, I watched this kind of a strange face. I said, Mike, are you okay? And he said, why did we do this a year ago? Because now the $250,000 became a real reality. You know, trying to keep the Titanic afloat, the $250,000, I have not found a government program that will give us that money back. They're not gonna repay it.
Are those loans recourse loans?
No, it's all purchase money. They were all purchase money, they're all short sales, they all could be done with a short sale. We've helped so many investors out of the scenario that it's just,
The regular
I'm going to,
capital losses,
pardon?
the regular capital losses, it doesn't fall under the 982.
It's not gonna fall under the it's a different scenario. I mean, our accountant actually sat down and we stuck a carryover from 2 years ago. So again, we're not an accountant, we're not attorneys, but this is something that we personally went through, because at some point when the hole is big enough in the ship, now that was a couple of years ago, if we'd been bleeding at that point, I would have had to give up real estate and go work for Marco with lawyer's title and spread off again. I mean, do I think it's going to come back again? I pray it does. But at the same point, when somebody files bankruptcy, they're here, there's new light, and they still have to come back. We haven't started coming back yet. I know we haven't started coming back yet, it's just by all the gavels that are.
I got a bunch of people here too, so I'll address this. People want to know, is there an average length of time that it takes to complete a short sale? Is there such a thing as normal or average when it comes to that? If they were thinking about doing that, what length of time are they looking at to complete that?
There's two different short sale homeowners. One that's current wants it to go quickly. One that's behind and wants to live in the house for free as long as they can. Which I will tell you, we have two lenders right now that we took a listing with LBPS. We took the listing, 2 days later we got a contract, and 7 days later we got an approval letter. And my staff said, we got an approval letters in 7 days. I said, oh my goodness, LBPS just got on God's time. I said, they could do the world in a week, and now that's not normal. It's just not the normal. At HSBC, we've had 2 of them that we've gotten done in like closed within a 45-day period. That's not normal. It's still about 90 to 120 days average, and we're on these transactions every day. My staff are all former escrow officers. I've got incredibly talented people that we're cross-training them and getting them their real estate licenses also. And we follow up every day. It's a full-time job. And again, we get to take I could give a short sale transaction to an attorney to do. I just know that the difference between what an attorney makes per hour, that Kaveh would never sit on the phone for an hour and a half on ignore with any of these lenders. That's what my staff, we do, and we multitask. We're opening emails. We have actually figured out a pretty amazing system how to do this and do this effectively. And so can you answer that is absolutely.
Another one, people say, does it matter how upside down you are in your loan? Does that affect your chance of having a successful short sale? Is there a number? Is there a sweet spot? Is there too little or too much that would, I use the term, disqualify you?
No.
Okay. That's good. I like this one too. Is it harder, more difficult, or how much does it affect a short sale if you own more than one home and you only want a short sale, obviously one of them?
Well, we still have our home and we short sold 6. And so, no, what you have to look at is, this is why we're doing it. If it's a rental property, it's a negative that's dragging you down. It has no bearing.
People are still concerned about their credit ratings going through things like that as I see this. Are there any strategies, and what are the best strategies to minimize your exposure to a negative credit rating or the hit that you're going to take?
Keep your your payments current, do a current short sale.
What if they're
Which-
behind right now?
If they're behind right now, you still have the late payments. And, okay, if you're behind right now and your house isn't on the market, I guess my question is, what direction are you going in? Are you going to let it foreclose? That's the worst thing you can do to your credit, period. Even if you never bought a house again, that's the worst thing you're going to do because it affects your car insurance. And everything that you do is FICO driven, except the day we die and God will not ask for your FICO score when you get there. But everything else we're doing here is driven by your FICO score. So foreclosure being the worst, if you're going to do a short sale, keeping in mind approximately 13 months after your short sale, your late payments will drop off.
Go ahead.
Actually, the surprising figure is a lot of our clients call us a year after bankruptcy and they're in the 700 plus FICO score. So, again, it's all the stigma of, oh my God, it's a bankruptcy, oh my God, it's a short sale. Definitely, we all agree. I make my decision based on the law and my experience. They make it on the same, that foreclosure is your worst option. There's too much liability. Your credit's going to take an absolute just dive. So the other options are better options. Now, there's more stigma to them, but especially with bankruptcy. But there are things that you can do, like a current short sale, that are going to be great for your credit, or more advantageous than the rest.
And also, just so you know, with your credit scores, there's a formula that goes into that. And right now, there's not a specific code that's assigned in the FICO system for a short sale. So every lender is reporting a short sale differently, and it will affect your credit differently. The foreclosure is different. The foreclosure has a code. The foreclosure gets reported the same way, and it's read the same way through the system. So it has the potential to bring your credit score down significantly more because it already has a way to be rated. Whereas each lender is going to report your short sale differently. And when you close on a short sale, the most important thing you could do is to start working on your credit immediately. Because there's things that you can do very quickly to get your credit scores back up so that if you do need to purchase a car or you do need to get new auto insurance or life insurance or just anything where they're going to check your credit, that you have a better credit score and you're able to do that. And it's just something that, right after closing, you go ahead and get your credit checked to make sure. There's people that have been through short sales that I've pulled their credit to help them purchase a home, and they closed on a short sale in May, and the lender kept reporting them late for like 6 more months after that. And so those are all things that can be easily cleaned up and will change your credit, so it's very important to make sure you're watching that.
When we work with any of the homeowners, our clients, we make sure that after the short sale that you get to work with one of our lenders so that you can do free credit restoration. You'll be paying for your credit report quarterly, but the most important one is 30 days after the short sale's done to see how the lender reported it so that if something needs to be challenged, they're going to walk you through what you need to do so that you start rebuilding your scores immediately.
I've heard about another term called a deed in lieu of foreclosure. Why does everybody smile when I say that? What is a deed in lieu of foreclosure? Is that an option as well?
Do you want to handle that?
That's not I don't particularly like to address anything foreclosure related. That's basically saying the inevitable is going to happen. I'm just going to deed the property back to you. Again, there's liability there, and it's going to be a foreclosure. They're going to sugarcoat it. Oh yeah, just deed it back to us. We'll be the owner. It's no big deal. But absolutely, again, there's going to be liability there, and that's something that you need to go get advice on. So.
I've seen one of my homeowners where the lender voluntarily sent a deed in lieu of foreclosure, one. We had an approved short sale and they sent him a certified package. It was a 14-page legal letter, and you know me pretty well. Okay, I read the letter, and then I reread the letter. And the third time I thought, man, this keeps referring to case number this and case number that, which I had absolutely no knowledge of. And I thought, and the people are saying to me, Mark, should I sign this? I said, I'm recording this call. I am telling you, you have to seek legal counsel because I have absolutely no clue at all what they're asking. They might have been asking for the race car rules, whatever they want, they'll just throw it in there. You're giving up the foreclosure period of time to give them the deed, and they give you a foreclosure.
Right, I'm going to use that instead. And to echo that, and some of the experts that we've talked at and the research that I've been doing here on the radio station, there's more than one instance, and I won't drag the attorney into this yet, more than one instance of lenders inserting documents into the closing papers that had things like a second mortgage, the promissory note, that are unethical at best, illegal probably, and it gets back to, it's one of the things I learned, and again, why I sleep a little better at night knowing that Marge and her team are working on it. If you didn't know, what was my other attorney friend said, it's real hard to get your signature off of a piece of paper. You have to be really careful and understand that unfortunately there's some unethical people out there. There are some folks out there that know that you don't know what you don't know, that know that you're in a stressed out situation, that you're concerned, that you don't know where to turn to next, and they're going to see that as a sign of weakness and try to slip something past. And I know there's some, even in the state of Arizona, there's a couple different lawsuits or some class action suits of lenders who were attempting to insert documents into the closing documents that in effect made you responsible for the difference. They basically worked it in after agreeing that there was no deficiency. But hey, if they can get your signature on a piece of paper, then you need legal counsel to get it back off, and that can be difficult. And I again don't mean to put it on the lawyer, but that's not the first time you've heard that, is it?
No, again, these horror stories happen day in and day out. I've experienced quite a bit of them. And that's the unfortunate thing about this entire housing crisis is the banks are looking out for number one. Everyone's looking out for number one. No one's looking out for you. And unfortunately, the people out there are just too scared to go seek the advice. They see the cheesy lawyer ads on TV and they say, why would I want to go talk to that guy? Everyone knows a realtor, but a lot of the realtors don't know what they're doing, so they say, why would I go talk to that person? And they just want the quick out, which is just sign this. The bank says, oh no, you're going to be fine, just sign it. And these things are happening. The Attorney General's office across the country, the offices are setting up task force just to deal with the initial boom of foreclosures and what the banks are doing and that whole fallout. Next is going to be for the realtors who are giving the legal advice and the clients who are filing complaints against them. So, I mean, the whole fallout of that initial boom is yet to be seen.
Some people asked about refinancing and how much of an option, I got 3 or 4 of them here, how much of an option these days is refinancing as a way to get out from underneath this now and get out from underneath the situation. If you're current right now, is now a good time to refinance? Do you think that that's a legitimate option for people, and is that going to help folks moving forward?
So somebody who has equity still in their home, and they want to know if they want to go from 6% down to 4%.
Do you have to have equity to refinance?
The HAFA program, the 125% loan, when President Obama was elected, he came to Dobson High and he spoke. And he was speaking about the government plan that was going to help the homeowners.
Which one is that?
The one that doesn't work for
Is that
Arizona.
HAFA?
That's HAM, but it doesn't work for Arizona. Because he said most loans, you're more upside down than the 125%. So he said we have a program, but unfortunately it won't work for the Arizona homeowners. Which, who does it help if we can't help? Arizona, Nevada, California, Florida, and Michigan, who are desperately needing some type of program, but the program doesn't really help the homeowners that are, when I talk to homeowners and their loan is $176,000 and the property's worth $42,000, it doesn't make me feel really great to see what they're making in a payment and saying, what do I do? And I have to tell them the government program doesn't help anybody here in Arizona. I haven't seen it help anybody. Have you, Leanne?
Not that particular program. The hope for homeowners, I mean, if you are one of those people that's fortunate enough to only be 125% or less upside down, then yes, that program that program will work, and I've closed several of those.
What are the qualifying ratios?
It's just like a regular refinance, so depending on your credit scores, you're gonna be looking at a 42% roughly back-end ratio to qualify for something like that. And it does work for some people, so if you owe 105% of the value of your house, then that would be an option for you as long as your loan is owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac.
And if you'd like to know if your loan is owned by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, you can go to the website and just Google, is my loan Fannie Mae? If you just Google that, it'll take you to the Fannie Mae lookup tool. You'll put in some information, and it'll tell you if you have a Fannie Mae loan.
The last question I'm going to get to here, and a couple people mentioned it, it's been in the news, and I know I've seen them as well. Some of the discussions about the predatory lenders out there, some of the pending court cases. Is that a possible solution for people? Do you think that they're going to have an option to get out from underneath one of these loans or have an opportunity to negotiate with the lender because of some of these pending court cases?
Probably not. What's going to happen is basically with class action lawsuits, what basically occurs is you get piled into a big group of plaintiffs, and basically you sue the bank and say, I was part of this group that this bank did this bad thing to, and the bank, let's say they're found guilty of whatever act, they have to pay $100 million over for damages. Well, if you're, part of the 100 million plaintiff group, you get $1 out of the deal. So, no, I mean, you can't say, well, I'm part of this lawsuit, therefore you have to work with me. They're going to say, well, your remedy are those damages that we're going to pay out. So, I don't think there'll be any success in that.
I actually heard the scam to that is the attorneys that are, I exempt you from this because
I hear it all. So
Okay, so what I hear from that is if everybody in the room wanted to do this class action suit, and see, I don't work with these kinds of people, but if the attorneys collect $5,000 for everybody, and they talk about predatory financing, to me there's just so much false hope that's out there, and Kaveh just told you, there's going to be this big settlement and you may get $1, and that's your remedy. Sometimes the justice system just isn't what we think it is.
Anything else? I want to put it back on the board here as we wrap things up, and I really appreciate everybody sticking with us and give everybody a chance to talk. I'll remind you that please, if you had a chance to fill out your cards, we have all those. We do have a drawing coming up. There's no obligation whatsoever. And there's also an opportunity for those of you that still have some very specific questions about yours, and I apologize if I didn't get to your question specifically. Some of them are very minute, some of them have to do with complex issues, and I hope you can understand that you probably need to really sit down one-on-one with somebody and make sure you have somebody that can understand and give you the time for your specific situation. I know Marge and the rest of the panel will be available. They have their business cards. You can set up appointments and move forward from there.
Don't be shy. If anybody has any questions, come up to any of us, and we're here to give you whatever time is needed after this seminar.
Appreciate you coming.
I think something that came out of this is just, don't delay, get started early, get the answers, and it'll help you make better decisions.
I would like to thank Bruce for responding to his email. It's just an amazing relationship with KTAR. My marketing rep said to me, why don't we do a workshop down at KTAR? And I said, how's that going to work? I said, most people don't want to come, but I will tell you that, Bruce, when you said walk away, it was powerful. And now that you're saying there's other choices, it's just as powerful, and I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart.
Again, thank you all for coming out. It's really good to see people being proactive. That's my number one thing is, just you have to be proactive. Get the education up front. There are resources out there that don't cost you anything. Some of us truly do want to help you and want to educate you, and that's really the only reason we're here. And thank you, Marge, for having us, and Bruce for setting this up. So I applaud you all for coming. Thanks.
Of course, I echo everything that they say, and I would just add to that stay positive. There's choices for you. Marge can help you, go through those choices, and just stay positive. It's not all bad, and there will be another day, and there will be happy days. And there will be some days that are, maybe a struggle, but you will find a happy place to be again. And so I would just recommend that you try and do your very best to stay as positive as you can.
And thank you to everybody here for being here. Again, it was I hope that you walk away from here knowing something you didn't know when you walked in the door. And if nothing else, you know that there are people that you can go to find some of the answers for yourself. For me, that was one of the most empowering things that came out of my relationship with meeting Marge. And I'll emphasize that again is, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't even know the questions to ask of some other people, and I feel like I have so much more information now, and I'm making smarter decisions for myself. And, we all have egos, and we all think we're pretty bright. I was as dumb as a box of rocks when it came to my house, my mortgage, my options, my choices and what to do. And I feel so much better about the relationship and meeting her team and meeting the people who have all helped me with my situation, which I think is not that unusual probably from what a lot of other people are going through. So hopefully this has been a help to you. We still have our drawing real quick. We're going to draw 4 names. We have everybody's cards. I don't want to make sure that any of the white cards, you can make sure you drop it in there. I would hate for you to miss out. And we'll do that. I'll also remind you that the panel will be up here afterwards. And for those of you that would be interested, I know this sounds silly to go and see the actual radio side other than the conference room. I'll be glad to take people over and show you guys a little bit of what the inside of a radio station looks like if you are so inclined. It is pretty cool, I got to tell you. Pretty proud of this place. They don't all look like this. A lot of them are in double wide trailers somewhere, so we've lucked out. I can't pick them. I'm a biased person. Heck, I want to win. There's the first name. All right. Catherine Aragon. Yay! Catherine, you here? There's Catherine right there. She wins. Outstanding. They're all the same, correct? I know there's no difference between them. All right, we've got gift cards for everybody here. We're just showing up. All right, let's see. Richard, is it Slapkey? Come on up, Richard. Outstanding. I know Catherine. See, it's good that I didn't draw it.
Good thing.
Angela Blanco. Thank you very much. Angela, please, come on up. And our last one here.